My name is Edward Stone, and I am special counsel to the Association of BellTel Retirees, and I am also the executive director for Retirees for Justice as a 501c4 advocacy organization that I created in partnership with the Association of BellTel Retirees. Retirees for Justice is responsible for drafting state and federal legislation and doing all things related to advocating for retiree rights. One of our key focuses in recent years, and one that is certainly timely today, are issues related to pension de-risking, also known as pension risk transfer, and sometimes affectionately referred to as pension stripping. From the retiree perspective, it looks more and more that pensions are being stripped away from retirees. So I'm going to give you a high-level overview of some of the things that we're doing. And of course, we always invite feedback, so feel free to reach out through the Association of BellTel Retirees, and I'm be certain to follow up with any information that you might need. I am proud to have been involved with the Association of BellTel Retirees for over a decade now. We started back just prior to the 2012 transaction with Verizon, when 41,000 Verizon retirees got kicked out of the pension plan and were placed into an annuity contract with Prudential. Recently, it was just announced that Verizon was going to do another pension risk transfer deal, this time with two different annuity providers. One, again, Prudential, or the Prudential Insurance Company of America, to be specific, and the other, a company called RGA, which is a US-based reinsurer. And this is a relatively newly announced transaction, and it's something that I'm looking at right now very closely, both to analyze the structure of the transaction and to identify any potential risks to retirees. This transaction impacts a number of union members, as opposed to the prior transaction, which did not. And this has gotten the attention of the Communication Workers of America, and I am collaborating with them as to strategy. So this is something that we'll continue to update the association on. At the federal level, I guess to take a step back, let's talk about what pension de-risking really is and what we can do about it. So first of all, pension de-risking is really anything that reduces a defined benefit plan liabilities. And that can take many, many forms. It could be a form of liability-driven investing. It can be a pension buy-in, where the pension plan purchases an annuity contract. And it can also be what's known as a pension buyout or lift-out, where retirees get kicked out of the plan and they get placed into an insurance annuity. And that's what we're mostly going to cover today, because in those situations, retirees lose all of the uniform protections that were intended by Congress under a federal law known as ERISA, and they default through no choice of their own to non-uniform state laws. And there are a number of consequences to that. I think kind of most importantly, retirees lose ready access to the federal courts. Under ERISA, there are strict fiduciary standards about what folks can invest in, what plan fiduciaries can invest in. Retirees, as you probably are aware, get detailed annual financial disclosures of various different forms. There are predetermined minimum funding requirements, and creditor claims are protected, uniformly. In post de-risking, retirees default to non-uniform state law. Some states protect your annuity payments from creditor claims. Other states do not. And perhaps most importantly, retirees lose the backstop that's offered by the federally chartered Pension Benefit Guaranty Corporation. And I'll go into a little bit about that and give you some actual numbers. So the Pension Benefit Guaranty Corporation, it's a U.S. government agency that backstops private pensions. There are no tax dollars used to fund it. it's all funded by essentially premiums that are paid on a fixed and a variable basis. Fixed rate premiums are based on the number of plan participants. Variable rate premiums are determined based on the funded status of the plan, of any given plan. So the variable premium can go up the more underfunded a plan is, and that's to provide additional liquidity for the PBGC in the event that they have to take over a plan. What's really most important about PBGC protection is that they have safeguards built in where they'll put a plan on a watch list and they'll interact with plan fiduciaries to figure out how things are going and what they can do to improve the funded status of the plan. Those preliminary actions start when the plan is at about the 80% funded level. Interestingly, you can't offload pension liabilities if the plans are less than 80% funded. And in 2012, when Verizon offloaded 41,000 retirees, the plan was almost exactly at 80% funded. So this is obviously something that the plan fiduciaries look very carefully at. But what it's really important to understand, and the distinction that most people don't realize, is that PBGC benefits increase as a function of age. So depending on when a plan gets taken over, the annual benefit that a given plan participant will receive changes. So for example, at 65, the maximum benefit for an individual is $85,000, $295.40 a year for a straight life annuity, and $76,765 for a joint and 50% survivor annuity. These annuities provide less of a monthly benefit because they're based on 2 lives, both the pensioner and the pensioner's spouse. But while that number may seem similar to Guarantee Association coverage numbers, for an 75-year-old, that number increases to $259,000 for a straight life annuity and $233,000 for a joint and 50% survivor annuity. So they're really very different animals. And my view, having been involved in this field for quite some time now, is that Guarantee Association coverage is ill-suited for payout annuities. And again, the final word I'll leave you with is pension benefits under PBGC coverage increase annually as a function of your age, and the rates are set by Congress annually. So contrasting that to Guarantee Association coverage is per individual per lifetime, and the range in coverage goes from $250,000 to $500,000. And that's, again, per individual per lifetime. And it's determined by the state of residence of the individual pensioner at the time of impairment or insolvency of the insurance company. So if you move from one state to another, the amount of benefit that you receive can go up or down. And that's an important consideration for retirees who are in payout status. If there were to be a large insolvency, say the size of a company like Prudential, it would tax the Guarantee Association safety net. There has never been a liquidation of an insurance company the size of a Prudential in the history of our country. The last big insolvency that I was intimately involved in involved the executive life insurance companies. Executive Life went into conservation in California in 1991, and it wasn't until 2013 that the liquidation of Executive Life Insurance Company of New York was complete. And after that liquidation, it was in rehabilitation prior to liquidation, but after that liquidation, $920 million in benefits were cut. And that was based on how many people were over the cap, and over the cap means over the Guarantee Association cap in effect in any given state. So, should retirees be concerned about this pension de-risking phenomenon? I would say absolutely. I don't think people should panic because your pensions aren't in any immediate danger. But since 2012, when I started following this closely, there's been more than $300 billion in pension liabilities transferred to insurance companies. And insurance companies under the McCarran-Ferguson Act are regulated at the state level. So it's very hard to get a real picture about how well suited these insurance companies are when it comes to their liabilities for this pension business, which is a relatively new phenomenon, at least with respect to the pension lift-outs that started really in earnest in 2012. Prior to 2012, there were some, but they were small in size, typically less than $1 billion a year. In 2012, GM did a $25 billion deal, and Verizon did a deal that cost the plan approximately $8.4 billion. So it's important to know your pensions are in no immediate danger. Life insurance companies like Prudential have hundreds of billions of dollars in assets. The real question is, do they have enough in assets to match the liabilities they've taken on in all these pension risk transfer deals? That's much less certain than their ability to make good on their needs over the next several years. But your pension payments were intended to last your entire lifetime, and in some instances, the lifetimes of your spouses. So it's very important that the insurance company that's chosen for these transactions is a good one. And that's one of the issues we're looking at right now with Prudential. Is Prudential the right or safest available annuity provider, given everything that it has taken on and all the different types of transactions that it has been involved in over the past decade or so? And there are some real concerns there. The biggest concerns involve a heavy dependence on affiliated reinsurance. Those are reinsurance companies that are wholly owned by Prudential, located in the state of Arizona, and also more recently in Bermuda, where Prudential just formed a new or invested in a reinsurer in Bermuda and just transferred $10 billion in structured settlement annuities into that new reinsurer. Structured settlement annuities are very similar to pension risk transfer annuities because they are essentially fixed lifetime payouts. I mean, they're payouts that are fixed for a period of time, but they contain a life contingent portion, just like pension annuities. So what can be done by retirees, and what is it that we can do to kind of make this process more transparent, force insurance companies to be more accountable? Well, a couple of things. One, we can amend state laws to replace the protections that were lost when the risk transfer deal took place with reasonably equivalent protections under state law. I have, on behalf of Retirees for Justice, drafted an amendment to ERISA that's designed to make pension risk transfer deals more transparent, force insurance companies to be more accountable, and also focus on the choice, the fiduciary duty that the defined benefit plan fiduciary has when they choose safest available annuity provider. I provided testimony to the ERISA Advisory Council about an interpretive bulletin that addresses just this very issue. That's Interpretive Bulletin 95-1. Under the Secure Act 2.0, the Department of Labor was asked to report to Congress about whether or not they were going to make changes to that interpretive bulletin to spell out more of the detail that should be taken into consideration. That has not taken place as of yet, but as soon as it does, I'll make sure that the association knows all about it. But very clearly, what I've asked to do in an ERISA amendment is to clarify what steps the defined benefit plan fiduciary has to take in order to discharge its fiduciary duty. And that would involve making sure that the insurance company chosen was properly capitalized and didn't rely too heavily on affiliated transactions, offshore reinsurers, and the like. I also am looking to ask Congress to toll any statutes of limitations that might be relevant to a pension risk transfer deal. And this is a really important point. And tolling a statute of limitations means you stop it. It doesn't run until such time as every plan participant has been paid every pension benefit they were owed. I think this would be a real deterrent to people choosing the cheapest available insurance company as opposed to the safest available. And those amendments are currently pending and working through Congress. So that's a summary of kind of what I would like to see happen. It's very important for the association to remain active. And I'm very pleased with the partnership that I have with Retirees for Justice and the Association of BellTel Retirees. and I look forward to providing you with more updates at later dates. And should you need any more information, I can always be reached through the association. And with that, I conclude my remarks today.